Hi everyone! Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Viseart Petit Pro 5 Soleil, and that's this cute little colorful guy here. And I'll be providing you guys with swatches, a demo of how I created this look, and also my overall thoughts on the palette. But before I dive in, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of this little palette. So it comes in Viseart's typical little easel style where you can kind of fold it back like this or just fold it up like a little envelope, and it comes with 8 shades, and this retails for $30, though I've seen it often on sale for as low as $20. So definitely a really great way to try out the Viseart formula and also to get some more colorful shades in your palette without committing to buying a full-blown like rainbow palette. And each of these little shadows is magnetized, so you can easily pop them out and create your own customized Petit Pro palette. And these little pans are interchangeable with their edit series as well. And I really love that aspect of Viseart shadows because their little palettes are so small and cute and perfect for traveling. So once we get back to that point in the world where we're able to travel again, it's really fun to collect these, and you can make your own custom palettes and take them to go with you. So without further ado, let's go into the swatches. So first off, we have this light matte shade here called Pastille, and this is described as a light warm tone taupe with a matte finish. So you can see on my skin, this mostly just is sort of a peachy white shade. I'm not really getting a ton of taupe vibes, but it's what I have on my brow bone today. Next up, we have Taffy, which is described as an iced cherry blossom with shimmer finish. So this is a really gorgeous shade that has a bit of a yellow gold shimmer to it. Next up, we have Watermelon, and this is described as a mid-toned red with a shimmer finish. And I must admit, these two shades, when swatched, are quite similar to each other, as you can probably tell here. I would say that this shade over here, Taffy, is definitely a lot more shimmery than Watermelon, but overall they look quite similar other than the finish. And then next up we have Pastis, which is one of the standout shades of this palette, and it's described as a medium warm toned citron with a matte finish. Let me just swatch that again so you can see it. Okay, that's better. You can see this is a very, very vibrant yellow shade. It is a true canary yellow. So that is the first row. And then in the second row, the first shade we have is Bonbon, which is an iced violet blue duochrome with a high shine finish. And this, I would say, is the other major standout shade of this palette. It is really one of my favorite Viseart shadows in general. It is so shimmery and beautiful. You can really see the blue and the violet, and it just adds a lot of interesting cool tones to any look. Next up, we have Lavender, and this is a Byzantine purple with a matte finish. And I would say that Lavender looks a lot more like a true royal purple to me than a lavender shade, but you know, it's that's fine. I don't really mind how they've named that. But this is a really great shade just to add a bit more depth and interest to your look. And then next we have Marmalade. This is a really flaky shade, and it's described as a terracotta with shimmer finish. Just add a little bit more. So the shimmer here is definitely a yellowy orange shimmer. So overall, it makes this shade come across as more orange, even though it's definitely more red terracotta in pan. And then finally, we have Soleil, which is described as a yellow gold with a shimmer finish. So this is technically, I guess, the namesake of this palette, though I will say it's probably the most boring shade in the palette for me personally, just because I have a ton of yellow golds, but it does marry well with all of these other shades. So there we go. That is the whole palette swatched. As you can see, it is very, very colorful, but also does manage to be very coherent still as a color story. You have, on the one hand, a lot of your sunset shades, so these two down here, plus these three up here. You have your very neutral shade here, and then you have these two purple shades to just contrast with everything else and add an additional layer of color. I would say overall with this palette, you can create a really beautiful sunset inspired look. Even the purples I think really go well with making a more realistic sunset look and also add just a little bit more depth. So with the swatches out of the way, let's go ahead into the demo and tutorial of how I got this look. So I already have my concealer, eye primer, and eyebrows done, so we can go straight into the eyeshadow look. So starting out with my Chikuhodo Z Series eyeshadow brush, I'm going to go into this really pale matte shade over here, and I'm just going to use this on the outer parts of my eye towards the brow bone, just to kind of set that part and make it a little bit easier to blend shadows into the brow bone later on. So you can see that this shade on my eyes doesn't show up a ton. It's definitely a bit light, but otherwise it mostly just sort of blends in. So I'm just gonna use this wherever I think I'm gonna have to blend things out a little bit later, and especially on the brow bone area, since that's where I could definitely use a little bit more light. So now I'm gonna take my Wayne Goss number 16 brush and go into this yellow shade over here. So this is a very, very vibrant powdery shade and will add a lot of fun to any look that you use this with. And you can see even on initial application, this is really opaque and very, very vibrant. This is not a yellow that's gonna get muddy or lost as you work it into the skin. There we go. So we are already getting major tropical vibes just from this color. Honestly, if you wanted to do a very editorial look, you could probably just do this and, you know, maybe use some white eyeliner to define the edges and be good to go. But I'm gonna try to use all of these shades on my lids today. So now going in with my Wayne Goss number 4 brush, I'm going to use this shade over here, the deeper reddish shade, and use this on the outer corners just to start to build up a little bit of depth. So with that same brush now, I'm gonna go into the more sparkly and slightly lighter red shade and put this on the inner third just to add a bit of shine there. And then for the center of the lid, I'm going to take my Chikuhodo GSN 9 brush and go into this marmalade shade over here. And just to make sure everything's nicely blended, I'm gonna take my Wayne Goss number 4 and go back to that original bright yellow shade and just take a bit of that and just go over the crease area. And now I'm gonna go in with the purple. So I actually have here a little brow brush from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm gonna dip into the deep matte purple shade and try to use this as a liner and see if this brush gives me some more precision. Alrighty, so I would say that if you have an eyeliner brush, maybe use that instead, but in a pinch, this brow liner actually did an okay job of providing a fairly defined wing. So now I'm going to go in with my Wayne Goss number 5 brush and just build up the opacity of that purple wing. Now with that same Wayne Goss number 5 brush, I'm going into this sparkly purple shade here, and I'm just gonna put that over the inner 2/3 of that wing, just to provide a little bit more shine on the eyes. Kind of concentrating it a little bit more on the center part, but going all the way in. There we go. So now I think that wing has just a little bit of that blue shimmer to it. So I think that's basically the upper lash line done. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to first clean off my Wayne Goss number 5 brush and then go back into that deep purple shade. So grabbing that shade on this little brush, I'm going to just sweep it on the outer portion of my lower lash line, just to continue that purple liner look. And now with that same brush, I'm going to go back into that shimmery purple shade and just put that in the inner 2/3 of the lower lash line. And now, since the lower lash line is so purple, I'm going to take my Esom G27 brush and just grab a little bit of that yellow shade and just try to put that a little bit on the edges of the lower lash line, just to kind of tie in the vibe of the upper lash line. There we go. So I think it's quite subtle, but you can just see a little bit of that yellow there on the lower lash line that just blends everything together. So finally, I'm going to take my Rephr number 3 brush and go into this gold shade over here and put this all over the inner corners. And I'm just gonna pull it a little bit over the inner portion of the lid as well. Blend it a bit into the yellow that we have going. And then finally, I'm gonna take a little bit of that gold color again and just put this on the brow bone area. I'm gonna try to keep this pretty light, but I do just wanna bring a little bit more of this gold sparkle to the look. I'm gonna try to diffuse this out as much as possible. There we go, that's the eyeshadow look done. And normally I would actually go in with a tiny bit of eyeliner just to further define the eyes, but I'm actually really digging this eyeshadow as eyeliner look, and so I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. What do you guys think? I am really digging these sort of bird of paradise vibes that I'm getting from this look. So to finish off today's look, I'm first gonna just go into my Marc Jacobs Omega Bronze in the shade 106 Tantalize. And with my Artist Large brush from Wayne Goss, I'm just going to carefully sweep this all over my cheekbones. And I feel like the coconutty smell and vibe of this Omega Bronze is perfect for this very tropical look that we're doing today. And for blush today, I'm going to use my Heaven's Veil from M Cosmetics in the shade Magic Hour. And using my Rephr number 4 brush, just gonna dig my brush into that and put that all over my cheeks. This has a really pretty pinky, peachy glow. I think will just go really well with the vibe of today's look. And to finish off the cheeks, I want to bring in a little bit of that gold that we had before. So using my Artist Small brush from Wayne Goss, I'm going to just very lightly dip into this golden shade here and just lightly sweep that all over the high points of the cheeks, just to use this eyeshadow as a highlighter. And this is a technique I enjoy using to just make sure that whatever I have on my eyes and brow bone really connect with what I have on my cheeks. So you can make sure it's the exact same texture and tone this way. So to cap off today's look, I tried a lot of my lip gloss formulas, hence why there's a little bit of staining on my lips. But I think I actually want to go in with something a bit more matte, just given how much sparkle and shine and color we have on the lids. So I'm going to try going in with my Velvet lipstick from Lisa Eldridge in the shade Muse. This is more or less the shade of my lips, so I think this will hopefully just mute down the lips and have everything cohere a little bit better. Alrighty, so here is the final look. Let me know what you guys think. I am really digging this look because it's just so fun and tropical. Given that it's still wintertime, it's nice just having just a bit of, more of a colorful, fun look to spice up your day. So now we can go into my final thoughts and impressions of this palette. So I've actually had this palette now for around 6-7 months or so. So I think I can give a pretty holistic review in terms of how these shadows perform. So overall, I would say I really love this palette and highly recommend this. This is probably the Petit Pro palette from Viseart that I would most recommend, just because it is so unique. And also what I think is really perfect about these really small palettes from Viseart is it's an opportunity for you to get a lot of those shades that you normally don't use a ton of, but that are nice to have in your collection. So for example, the look I did today is definitely not something I'm going to be doing on the regular, but this is a palette I love bringing with me whenever I'm traveling, especially to a tropical destination. And the fact that you can switch these shades out means that you could potentially pair these with some more neutral tones and have just your perfect travel palette that covers your neutrals and your more colorful shades. I think all of these shadows perform really exceptionally. So for me, this shade is not super useful, but is good to just make sure everything blends out really seamlessly. This shade over here is definitely one of my favorites. This yellow just brightens up any look. If you want any look of yours to just look more summery or just more fun, I think popping this yellow on your lids is just a perfect way of doing that. And it just blends so seamlessly and really keeps its colors. And for me, that's one of the really big selling points of Viseart shadows, and in particular Viseart matte shadows. They look the same on the lids as they do in pan. And I think for a shade like this, that's really important because for me personally, I have pretty golden yellow toned skin, and so oftentimes I find yellow shades look just a little bit off on my skin because it might just look the same as my skin color and thus not really come across as yellow. But this one looks truly still like a very vibrant canary yellow on the lids. It doesn't just fade and blend into your natural skin tone. In addition, I really love this Bonbon shade over here. It is one of my favorite Viseart shadows in that it's just such a unique violet blue dual chrome and has a very strong shift. You can really easily see that on the lids, and it just adds additional layer of mystery and mystique to your look that I really enjoy. Aside from that, Marmalade is also a really wonderful shade just to add a little bit of a dual chrome effect and more dimension to your look. And I really love how they have the full sunset available to you in terms of several red shades, orangey shades, and yellow shades. So you really can take that in whatever direction you want. But the purples in here just add something a little bit more funky and different. So if you want something that's more on the natural side, you can take out the purples and stick to everything else, and you'll just get a everyday glam look that's sunset inspired. But if you include the purples, you'll just get something that is just much more interesting and kind of pushes you to just be a little bit more creative with your look. My only critiques of the palette would be that I think these two red shades on the lid look quite similar. Even from the swatches, you can see they aren't that different, with the exception of this one just being a tad bit more shimmery. And also, I'm kind of tired at this point of all of the light matte shades in Viseart palettes. I know a lot of people love starting out a look with that, but for me personally, I don't do that except when I have my Viseart palettes and all of them come with it. So I am a little bit tired of those because they all tend to look the same on my skin since they are so light. And then I am also just like not a huge fan of all of the gold shades because that's just something I have a lot of in my collection, so I don't find that to really diversify the number of looks that I can do with this palette. But that said, I get it. It's a Soleil palette. This color really is evocative of the sun, so I think it still fits with the overall color story. Overall, I would say even if there are a few shades in this palette that maybe aren't 100% your jam, since this is only $30 and often only $20, it's really a great investment in just adding a little bit more color to your eyeshadow collection and also trying out the Viseart eyeshadow formula at a really low cost. So that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial and the swatches and the review. If you've tried this palette, let me know what you've thought about it. And if you also have any thoughts on the other Petit Pro palettes from Viseart, definitely let me know down below. I am a new YouTuber and this is a brand new channel, so I would love it if you guys would thumbs up this video or subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content like this. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!